All right, let me have your attention. Let me have your attention. First and foremost, the reason we're here today is because our great friend, and Pastor, you didn't know, I definitely want you to meet him, and Pastor Bennett. And first, we're in this man's house. I'm going to turn it over to him in a second. But all of you need to know, the only reason we're here tonight is because in talking to our great friend, Director Eugene Schneeberg, one of the things he said is, can you come up with something where we can showcase or show the pastors to? And after not too much thinking, I got back to him and said, well, you know what I'd really like to do is do a walking tour of the Sandtown-Winchester area, and then maybe do a panel discussion. And then pastor behind me, Reverend behind me, Devin Bennett, I'll introduce him in a minute. He graciously said, well, why don't we feed them? Can we feed them? I'm like, no, we can't feed them. We don't want to spoil them. They might not leave. No, so he's the reason that we're eating tonight along with his pastor. So here's what I want to do. We're going to go right into this program. So Pastor Wilson, Dr. Wilson, is the man of this house. New song is extremely important in this community. Extremely important. That's why I chose it. So as a matter of fact, Pastor, here's what I want you to do. Doctor, if you don't mind, first thing he's going to open us up with prayer. Do the welcoming, and then I want you to give a little bit of history of New Song and why it's important to this community. And then pass me the ball back. Can you do that? Thank you, Doctor.
Father, we thank you so much for who you are. Lord, just as we sit out here right now and just this altercation that just happened on the corner, Lord, it didn't take you by surprise. So we thank you that your presence is here.
It's true, yes.
Lord, we ask you to bless this place, bless this house, bless these people who are here. Lord, we pray that you would do something real special at Sandtown. That you speak to our young men.
Amen, Lord, yes.
That you speak to our families, that you speak to our kids. That you help us be all that you would have us to be. That one day someone might say, yeah, look at Sandtown, but not for the same reasons.
Wow.
Bless you, Lord Jesus. Yes. In Christ's name, we ask you, Lord, that you would bless out the school that we have, and the lieutenant, and everyone who's here today. In Christ's name, right?
Amen. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask them basically two questions. Most of them have been advised what the questions are. They're going to answer them from their experience through their lenses, and then after that, we're going to open it up for questions, Q&A, okay? Right. So, as I do that, I want you guys to look at your food. So, we didn't want a fluff, usual suspect. We didn't want individuals that tried. One of the issues during this entire uprising event was there were so many voices. How should I say? I don't want to say coming out of, but yeah, there were so many voices coming out of Sandtown that wasn't Sandtown-Winchester. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff that you heard on the news, a lot of stuff that was being broadcast, a lot of interviews that picked up, even some pastors who came in being glorified and went nationally and talking, no ties to this community. And so they were speaking things that this community wasn't feeling. And one of the things I kept hearing from the communities was, Colonel, we losing our voice. People were coming even from, just for a moment, forget about everybody, because we had a lot of agitators coming from across the country. Let's just forget about them for a second. We know why they're here to incite, but we got people coming from other neighborhoods across Baltimore just to speak and speak for us. And they don't know us, they don't know our community, not from us. And so we did our best to try to offset that and give them a voice, but really their voice still to this day has not been heard the way it should be heard. And we talk about that media thing, right? And how they portray. Well, tonight you're getting exclusive insight because they have not been able to talk or express their voice about what happened and what the future may hold and their hopes of the future. But tonight, you as a select group get to hear that because no one else is taking time out to hear that. Does that make sense?
Amen. Thank you. Amen.
So here's the two questions. Well, here's the first question. Guys, so we have enough time for Q&A. I'm giving you 3 minutes to answer the question. Dr. Wilson, don't take 15. All right. I'll give you 3 minutes to answer the question. The first question is really easy. All right, and we're just going to go down the road and then I'll switch you, come back, give you time to think. You want time to think? You good? So here's the first question. Why, from your perspective, or better yet, what led the uprising back in April, from your perspective?
As far as like the community just wanted justice. And it's coming from both perspectives. It's coming from law enforcement and the community.
I could say the majority of it came from a lot of the youth not reaching out to other youth. They say, come on, brother, that's not what we're here for. And that's not how you get justice. And like how he said, it comes from the standpoint of us being a part of this community and officials that look over the community.
Well, I feel that Taproot, and I say Taproot because I got some of my training from North Carolina. The taproot of it all is the so-called war on drugs. Years ago when I grew up, most people were being locked up for drinking Thunderbird and Rich's Wild Irish Rose. It is when the drug took over our community that we've lost all sense of humanity, it seems to me. So I feel that it's unfair for our men in blue, men and women in blue, to do an impossible task of trying to rid our communities and grab hold of what's happening in this drug world. And I have more to say on that. My 2 minutes up.
I think the cause of the uprising is multifaceted, and to give you a clear understanding of what I mean, like I would kind of almost have to give you an extensive history lesson. For the most part, no, it's no secret in Baltimore that the 21217 zip code is one of the toughest areas to police. And, you know, when you come into Sandtown, like it's full of tough people. And so naturally to police a group of people as tough as the people that live here, you kind of got to bend the rules. You kind of got to be a little tougher than the protocol might ask of you. And so over time, I think that, you know, that toughness kind of exceeded the limits. And the Freddie Gray situation, I guess, gave the platform to a bunch of people that over the years felt like those limits had been exceeded by the police. Finally had their opportunity to act out. And I think that, you know, the uprising was a result of that. The opportunity and the platform.
Repeat the question.
What do you think led to the uprising?
I think it's a few things. I think that certainly where you do have high levels of unemployment, poverty, lack thereof, you're going to have those type of reactions. Now, I don't think that it is that this alone was the single cause of the uprising or the riots. I think it was a plethora of things, but I certainly think that one of the critical matters and one of the critical issues is that we have a high unemployment rate in our community. Joe Jones says that as it relates to fatherhood, that most often these men are not deadbeat dads, they're dead broke dads. And we don't see that part about it. From a crime and punishment standpoint, we see that brothers seem to be slayable but not payable. And so we got to figure out, or take seriously as a society, the ill effects of unemployment, the ill effects of low self-esteem, lack of character, lack of opportunities, access, not just acceptance in this community and in society. I think these are things that are being shot. There was a burning taking place. There was destruction taking place far before April 27th. And we got to remember also, and I'll conclude on this, they were our babies that were out there with the anger. Not everybody who went into a store were doing it on Freddie Gray's behalf. I want to say that too. You know what I mean? Some people were just playing on this TV. Didn't like nicely. But it is a cluster of folks. There is, in the hearts of a lot of the residents here, some serious concerns, some frustrations that did not happen or did not start later. But it's been long festival.
I think anytime you have latent feelings of frustration, and then you have a community crisis, and then you mix that, to be honest, in my opinion, and then you mix that with a media and people that thrive off crisis, and you put that mix together, because and then you don't have relationships because you haven't built relationships with people that now that you thrust a camera in front of or whatever the case may be. I think that's just fuel for frustration. I mean, let me put it in my terms. It's like I heard somebody saying, one of the pastors that does not live here, I can understand the frustration. I know why they're burning, and I'm like, well, the next time we start riding, why don't you bring your Rolls Royce down here? We'll start with that.
Come on, Doc.
Seeing as you identify, because I want you to really breathe me. So, but that fuel stuff when you have a personality and you're out there, and a lot of the personalities that were speaking on the streets and coming in and had the marches did not live here. And a lot of that was, there was people here, but young men that we were talking to, they were saying, hey y'all, let's take a chill pill.
That's right.
So you had a few people here and a lot of people from outside being fueled by people from outside. And that's chaos waiting to happen. And so one of the things that we need is when these kinds of things happen, like y'all just not showing up here. Come here first. Talk to us first before you start putting other folk on TV cameras that don't live here.
Yeah.
House ain't here, church ain't here, and people ain't here.
Come on.
That's a problem to me. And so that's fuel. Confusion in a moment of crisis.
My name is Elder Bill Hemby. I'm an elder here at New Song Community Church. I'm also vice chair of the Baltimore Faith-Based Commission for Behavioral Health. I'm also a board member of Clergy United for the Transformation of Sandtown. The question that was asked is a very important question for us to get started in moving forward strategy. Part of the problem is there's a lot of hopelessness in this community. You have a lot of Sandtowns all over America.
That's right.
But the event happened here in this community that we serve into. Back in the day when I was growing up, the church was the central focus to the communities. But somehow or another, the church has lost its way.
Right.
All right, we have abandoned the people in the community that we serve. And so therefore, you have joblessness, you have hopelessness, you have hunger, you have lack of education. All these help facilitate an attitude in which events like what happened will happen. And then you have also the problem that has been blistering for years, because back in the 60s and 50s when the police department was dominantly white, all right, we were brutalized as citizens of Baltimore City. And that authoritative rule that they had over us pervaded itself to the times that we live in today. Now we have folks like Colonel here who are trying to make a change, who are actually trying to reach out to the communities and to the people to let them know that they care. But still, there's a great hurt, there's a great pain in our communities that has not been dealt with. There's an unfed feeling of hopelessness that has not been dealt with. The joblessness is real. And then we have people coming to our communities offering solutions, but we don't see the answers. And we never experience exactly what we need to grow as a community. So therefore, we feel lost once again. And we fight amongst ourselves. Everything the crime is being committed is committed against ourselves because we're locked in this area. When we try to go out and advance, the doors are closed. So there are many issues that need to be tackled. Rather than sit up here and give lip service, let's sit up here and find solutions that we all can deal with to make a change in communities like this.
That's good, that's good, that's good. So, Elder, that's a great segue into the next question. Great segue, and we're going to go right back here and we do it in reverse. Especially since that's fresh in your mind and fresh out of your mouth, fresh manner. What's it going to take? How are we going to, not just, and we don't want to forget what happened, but how are we going to move forward? First, in what you talked about, because there's a lot of hurt. How do we heal Baltimore? How do we heal Sandtown-Winchester? And how do we move forward and build Baltimore?
As a black man here in this community, my feelings are, we first got to tackle the structure that's in power that keeps us down.
That's right.
And when I say that, when you look at our young men who do time in prison, and they're told once you serve your time, everything is going to be all right. But everything is not all right. And it's not all right because of the fact that once they have served their time and they go look for a job, and they may get a job initially, but then the employer says, "Oh, we got to go back here and we got to do a search to see if you have a record, see what your record looks like." And they may have some of the people who I've personally talked with will say, "Yeah, man, I was working, man. I worked for 30 days. Next thing I know, the manager comes in and says, I can't work no more. I can't work no more." So now, in my mind, what's happening is these gentlemen are being punished twice for the same offense.
That's right.
At some point in time, that has to change. Employers cannot arbitrarily place on them a sentence that extends them to a greater risk of them not being employed by taking away the job. We cannot have that. We have to educate our people. We have to have a moment in which, like the state's attorney said, a new expungement process that gives people a second chance, an opportunity. Because opportunity in communities like Sandtown are lost, or they never get here. And we have to go outside to get those opportunities, but they're not found. They're not available for us, especially they're not available for them if they have a criminal record. Those things have to change. You have to have political people willing to stand up and say, "Look, employers, you cannot induce them a sentence upon these young men by denying them employment because they have a record. You gotta let them go. You gotta let them work. If they're gainfully employed, I guarantee you the recidivism rate that is in this state will go down dramatically.
That's right.
But as long as we keep going about it the way that we've been going about it, things are never going to change. And we will have this problem again.
Thank you, Elder. Doc?
I think there are structural things that the Elder Bill has mentioned. I'm quite sure others will comment on that need to change. I mean, there's a stigma just living here. It doesn't matter if you have a record or not. Just the fact that you live here suggests something to somebody. So there are structural things that need to happen. But there are also relational things that need to happen. And I mentioned this in my welcome. We just got a guy a job, 22 years old, who's never worked a day in his life. And he dropped out of high school. To offer him a job and not spend time with him to instill those qualities that would enable him to sustain the job is fruitless. So that means we have to spend time with him as a person. It's nice when we can check off, I got a job, but gonna walk with the guy when he's having family problems, when he can't go see his kids, and you come on, the check doesn't run enough. You see, there's all kind of other things that he still has to face on a daily basis. And so, while we need to address those structural issues, there has to be those of us on the ground. You know, we can't do drone strikes in the same time. We need boots on the ground, simply put.
Right.
And so, to have one, as I said, I'm an old-time dope fiend. And because you put a new park in my neighborhood, I didn't say, I guess I ain't going to shoot dope no more. I got a new park. I didn't give a flip. You just gave me a nice park to shoot dope in. That's all. So, we cannot overlook, it seems to think that we can do something and we got the right amount of money and the right amount of structure as if that person's a thing. Men and women aren't things. They're people. Demographics say there's more women in Sandtown than men. That's not true. There's more men in Sandtown, but they don't count men because that hurts the check. Helping somebody. Yeah. So now, we give mama a house, we give the key is a job, and daddy still standing outside. What does that make him feel like? He becomes a boy toy. Everybody saying amen. Now that is a structural thing that needs to change. To rethink of what constitutes a family and a unique kind of family in Sandtown with the dynamic that we have to deal with in terms of brokenness. So it takes people and it takes structure. Can't have one without the other. It's good.
I agree. With both of my elders here. And I don't think the answer would be too different as we go down this line. I think that as we're, the topic is, of course, bettering Baltimore, bettering Sandtown and cities and communities like Baltimore and Sandtown. According to the National Institute of Corrections, 93% of the folks who are incarcerated are men. 42% of those incarcerated are African Americans. I would say that more than 70% of that 42% are African American males of all ages. And so we have this cycle, this machine, this over-incarceration, over-sentencing. Now, when I say this, I don't by any stretch of the imagination. First of all, if I can be, again, transparent, I'm an old gunslinger. I got a 30-year sentence for shooting a man, right? Just, one block south of here, and I served 3.5 years on a 10-year sentence, having 20 of those years suspended. So I'm not in any type of way negating or saying that there's only one side of this thing, and that's how these men are being treated. But what I am saying is, it seems like America's approach is about crime and punishment. We put a lot of energy into being punitive and very little energy in being preventive. How do you begin to even address these societal needs these urgent needs as it relates to our young black men in this community and communities like this? By helping them to see the best that's in them. You got to help them, help us. I feel like I'm a paycheck away from being out there, to be honest. But I know but God. I know that. How do we help them deal with the peer pressure? How do we help them deal with the lack of employment? How do we help them deal with every single image that's on television, that's in movies, that's on radio, that's in print, as it relates to who they are? Always seem to capture the negative behavior that is found in communities like Sandtown. They will show a brother who was being locked up 6 p.m. in the evening with handcuffs on quicker than they would a brother who's taking his child 6 a.m. to daycare before he goes to work.
That's right.
How do we change that narrative? How do we change that reel on a movie projector. You know, when did we get the Tyler Perry's and John Singleton to write about those who are trying to do it right? How do we encourage that? How do we emulate the best things? Human psychology suggests that if we were to take a picture, a group picture, right now and have it developed, human psychology would suggest that you and I will look for ourselves as the very first step in observing that picture. And depending on how we look in that picture determines whether or not that's a very good picture and where we need to be in the picture frame.
That's right.
But yet we don't think that. Reading about who we are and what we have done in newspapers always seem to be negative. Doesn't have a psychological effect on who we are. They keep projecting I'm a badass, I'm not going to live up to it. Excuse my French. I still love the Lord. It comes out. And that's the scary part. I have the wonderful honor of working with the men in this community. Through what Dr. Lewis talked about, Men of Valuable Action, Mobile Baltimore. And I don't think there's any man who has crossed the threshold of this building seeking help, seeking a partnership, is lying about changing their lives, lying about taking care of their children and themselves, lying about trying to change or create a new narrative and a new trajectory for their life. When we start to begin to come from that point of view, come from that platform, helping them become, as I said, experts in their own lives, masons in their own lives, I think we'll begin to see, along with part and parcel to the structural issues that Elder Bill and matters and urgencies that Elder Bill talked about, and what Dr. Lewis talked about in terms of this human capital. These things are part and parcel. I think that as an application, I think that every community-based organization should have a black male agenda. And I'll talk about that later in Q&A if somebody has a question.
Amen.
Well, I'm only 28 years young, so I don't have the statistical numbers to give you or to throw out there to kind of guide my thought or whatever the resolution is, so I'm just going to give you realness. And what I personally believe is that to fight institutions and to fight systems, like, that's a pointless battle. Because institutional racism and institutionalized poverty is in our systems that have been put in place and created to do exactly what they're doing. And that's to hold certain people down, to break certain people, and that's exactly what's going on. And so, to keep constantly trying to fight these systems that have been so ingeniously created is a pointless battle. So we got to start to shift the focus of the fight away from systems and institutions and more toward people. And what Sandtown is a spiritually dehydrated community. Like, when you've been institutionalized your entire life, like you lose the most important thing in the entire world. That's your identity. So you start to identify yourself with things that are valueless and quite frankly unimportant. Like what kind of shoes you got on, how much money you can make in a day, how many women you can sleep with, what kind of car you drive, if you popping or not. And that becomes the central purpose of everyday life for people who've been victimized by systems their entire lives. So, in essence, the same thing that we're working towards fighting is the very thing that's giving us our identity. So we gotta get away from systems and start to find who we are as people. And the only way to do that is to address problems as kind of like what the immediate solutions can be. Like, it's a shame that the average income in Sandtown is probably less than $20,000. So you got to start to look at the problems exactly how they are and in the order that they need to be, like, wiped out or cured. And you look at the violence and the drugs. What's the immediate solutions to either stopping, slowing down, or getting rid of them altogether? If you ask me, go out and meet the people, like the drug dealers. Why do you think they're selling drugs? Because they don't have the prerequisites, they don't have the qualifications to go out here and be gainfully employed. Whether it be education, whether it be a criminal record, like they don't have that. So what's the solution? It's to feed the hunger that's fueling them to do what they're doing. So I'm not talking about, you can't give a drug dealer a job making $9 an hour. It's a joke. You can't sustain yourself. You can't take care of a family on $9 an hour. So let's be real. Let's start being people. If you want to stop the violence, if you want to stop the drugs, approach them with real solutions. Give them jobs where they're making $15, $16, $17 an hour. Because why? Like I said, they identify themselves by how much money they're making. If you're making $9 an hour, you're going to feel like a joke. Because you're slaving for 40 hours a week to bring home what after taxes? But if you give them a job, which is an opportunity to make enough money where they can go out and do the things that they need to do that makes them feel like men, then you solve the problem. Because now you no longer have these corners full of drug dealers that's out here trying to make a dollar. Why? Because they've been given an opportunity to make the same amount of money without the risk.
That's right.
And that's what it's about. We gotta stop being theoretical and fantastical with our solutions and just start being real.
That's right.
Just start being real. That's it.
Amen. Amen.
Here my story is that
So we talked, Doctor, so we're talking about, and that was awesome, Sean.
I didn't forget. Realness to me is that we put the drugs into the hands of physicians and out of the hands of the criminal system, the Justice Department. That's the way it used to be years ago. You could buy something to help you relieve yourself, or you get high, you can get it across the counter. This is years ago. We didn't have the problems we had like we have today. It needed to be put in the hands of physicians. So I'm for decriminalization and I'm for the end of prohibition. When you did it with alcohol, the crime dropped, the death rate dropped. It can happen again. So I'm about changing the policies. And there are three entities I feel that it's important for this type of change. First of all, Ezra came before Nehemiah. Before Nehemiah was able to build the walls of Jerusalem, Ezra, the church, was established. Right. We as leaders have to do the job God gave us to do. And it isn't easy. So you need the church, you need the community, and you need the politicians. In that order, the church first. We are the moral anchors of our communities, wherever you are, California, Washington, Seattle, wherever you are. We are the ones that the folk in the community are looking at. It's true. So we cannot run a drunk down saying we're getting to church on time. We have to beg him to get out of the way. We have to stop and take time with that person and show them that, yes, you're a human being just like I can learn from you and you can learn from me. Let us help one another. That's the church's job. Preachers, do your job that God has given you. And I tell you, the folk that say, they won't say they're a bunch of hypocrites. That's in the church. It only thinks of those who are in their particular surroundings. But here, the The sky is my steeple here in Sandtown. And all the residents of Sandtown are my parishioners.
That's right. That's right.
And they might not know it. But in my eyes, and what God has given me, they're my parishioners. They're my parishioners. All right, so you need the community. You need the community. And absolutely, you need the politicians. Because I'm fighting with my politicians to change the policies, to end prohibition of drugs, to give us leaders an opportunity to be able to teach our young men and women by selling drugs on the corner. It won't happen, but that is their belief. So that ties my hand to tell them, let me help you become educated to be able to get those $15, $20, $30 an hour jobs.
That's right.
Yeah. When I am fighting against this drug culture to make them believe that they can get money by selling it on the corner, I'm fighting that. And that's a hard hill to fight. So it is not easy. The pain of becoming is essential. The pain of becoming is essential for the joy of being. So we must all believe that it's not easy. And that's why a lot of us don't want to do it, don't want to do the tough stuff. Get your hands dirty. There's some folks that breath stink that take you to high hell. And they smell like pee.
Fishy people. I'm sorry.
But the thing of it is this, they're God's people. They're God's people. I say this one thing, and this was a changing moment in my life. I stood on the corner where I was going to build a place for women who were suffering with the addiction of drugs. There was a sexual social worker that was across the street. And she recognized me and she said, "Reverend." And I said, "Oh my God." And she ran across the street to greet me. Now, my first thought was running the house. But I said I had to stay there. And she came and embraced me and said, "Would you please help me?" And then I gave her what I could. But before I saw her, the sun shined in her eye. And I could see the reflection of myself from my eyeball. That was me. That's me. That changed my whole life, to see that reflection. That was me. Now she left me with some things crawling in my arm. But I was able to call a physician. They were able to help out. But that's what happened. You got to be ready for it.
Social worker.
You done scared them all off now. Go ahead, James.
I think a lot of it got to do with us willing to want to change. A lot of people can't change and they get scared. By me being young, I'm only 24, I've been through a lot. And when I hear change and I want to change, it was real hard for me to do. I mean, whether I want to go the right way or I want to go the wrong way. I want to go the wrong way because I know the wrong way. I don't know the right way. So I think I can't say it's going to change overnight. It's not going to change overnight. I mean, everybody got to be hands-on with the oldest and the youth. I mean, and a lot of it is going to come. I got faith in it that we want to turn around by, it just can't be one person. It got to be a group of youth reaching out to other youth. And at the same time, the older ones are coming down on the youth. That's all I say.
That's right. Go ahead, preacher.
Go behind the grid.
Behind the podium, one. So from your perspective, what is it going to take to heal and build Baltimore?
I mean, just to piggyback on some of the brothers that's up there, it's going to take change in the community. Like the brother said, the churches sit at every head of the community. I mean, by me being Muslim, I believe in all the books, so the church do sit at every head of the community. But that's not only it. People in the community, and it's with the law enforcement. Let me get on this topic about the law enforcement. Y'all gotta stop locking people up for petty things. That's first of all. Because that's what's getting the brutality. And that's what's falling back on law enforcement. You lock somebody up for like 2 pills. They're gonna start saying, excuse my French, fuck them. You see what I'm saying? That's what leads back on them, which not a positive thought. So by the police doing so many senseless lockups, so forth to say, like it's causing the community to come together in negativity. Like I just see on the news, like the death count is what?
3 or 4.
Yeah, that's a damn shame. When you out here chasing drugs, but ain't chasing them. And it's not my thing about the victims. It's the families that the victims left behind. That's 304? That's 304 families without their loved ones. You see what I'm saying? Start making lockups more senseless to the people of the community. Start making them more senseless. Like the Freddie Gray situation, that shouldn't have took place like it took place. And he had a little blade on him. Everybody residents of Baltimore or no Maryland law. What's the inches you got? That's 6 inches. He had a little pocket knife on him. That's senseless. You see, man? You ain't had no reason to mess with that man. You feel me? Even if you did, it should have been a walkthrough. You see what I'm saying? So these senseless arrests on the law enforcement side making the community have a negativity thought. See what I'm saying? Now on the community part, all we gotta do is just come together. We need loyalty, faith, and a lot of help. Like, why does success need? When you speak of success, like, what's his name? That plays with Tavon Austin. He from Baltimore. Why does success have to run away from Baltimore? Why can't you build Baltimore? Like, I think a lot of people in the community need to start reaching out to higher sources as far as the celebrity world. Because if you look at it, 9 times out of 10, what you see on TVs and movies and all that influence our youth. You see what I'm saying? That's what got it so crazy. And, like, to piggyback off that, our generation before us, like 24, 23, 25, our generation before us, all we seen was what the streets had to offer. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think if you put more stuff, if the city start putting more time and money, like, you ain't want to kick out 30 mil for a school, but you'll kick out 30 mil for a jail. Come on now, that's senseless. Take that money and put some more recs and parks. You know what I'm saying? Instead of our kids coming home from school and gotta go straight to the TV, they can go outside, be constructive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just coached a Little League, the Little League basketball tournament that just happened at Gilmore. I seen all the kids that was in the Sandtown community. I was positive. We had a lot of law enforcement out there though, but ain't nothing popped off, and it was a good day. Like, if stuff like that started happening and moving forward, I think you can justify the Freddie Gray situation. Now, as far as the riot, you made your bed in LA in it. You see what I'm saying? Like, the media did that. Y'all weren't even supposed to let that leak. You see what I'm saying? Like, the cops want to get it locked up and all this. That, of course, that's going to spark a rage in the community. By so much sensitive stuff that's happening in the law enforcement, with law enforcement and a regular Sandtown community, like, of course you're going to see an uprising. But I don't think the National Guard was called for it. That was just over the top. But like, just to move forward, I think we need more politics down here. You know, really politics. We need more money, recreation centers, and our education system. That's what sit at the top. As far as the church education system. That's how all these kids keep falling into bad lives. You feel me? And like the brother said, like, it's a lot. Our job employment, like $8.25 an hour, $9 an hour. You gotta do something about that. they gonna say, excuse my French again, man, fuck that job. You know what I'm saying? I was staying more on the streets than I do at that job. So I think it got a lot to do with the employment rate. Because if you give each of these drug dealers a 17 or plus high job paying, I bet you will see these streets cleared like you do 1 in the morning. Shift change at what? 12? Y'all see the streets dead at 12 now. You feel me? So I think if you get more jobs, if the economy get more jobs, more high paying jobs like that, you will see less violence and less people off the street. Now, the violence part, people don't kill people. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. So it's not so much of guns, and I think that got a big part to do with the law enforcement too, because y'all collect 100 guns off the street, but 200 bodies drop. How's these guns getting back on the streets?
Not getting back, but more guns.
Yeah, more guns getting on the streets. It's a problem with that. And the piggyback off that, we just need this job enforcement. I mean, the jobs just to go up. Like, and we need these senseless crimes to stop. Like, you see a fiend or a dope dealer walk down the street, got 2 pills on them, just to meet your quota, you gonna lock them up. Come on now. You could have just tossed that down the drain and kept going. Don't chase the people that's really killing, really setting buildings on fire. I've seen a lot of buildings get set on fire, like nowadays. So, I think it got a lot to do with the educational status and the job status. And that's what's going to get these streets safer. So, it'll prevent another Freddie Gray situation like that.
Thank you, Ray.
I'm gonna get something to eat.
No, get your food right here. Drop your chairs down. 4 of you over there, 3 of you over here with me. So I'm gonna piggyback off a few things, then we open up to Q&A. About, we're kind of running early, so let's get about a half an hour, then we can take off. So one of the things Ray said, and he kept coming back to, and all of that we touched into was talking about economics, right? And so one of the things that I guess Ray don't know is that there's another Ray who's a very good friend of mine, and all of you know him, Ray Lewis, right? And so I've actually brought Ray Lewis over in this community, and we sat down with a lot of the guys from the streets. You know, I didn't ask for anybody so much that needed a job. I wanted the guys that had to have a job, and it was out there just surviving. Because at the end of the day, it's all about surviving. I got to eat. I got to make money. Got to help my mother with the bills. I got to survive. That's all it's about. I got to eat. And so we do something on the east side. I'm not going to get into that. And we said, I called Ray. I said, Ray, we got to do this on the west side. As a matter of fact, one of my officers who runs the west side, the east side piece, is called Turnaround Tuesday, where we employ, just all we do is focus on ex-offenders that keep going to jail over and over again. And Otis, you can stand up back there real quick. And Otis does a phenomenal job. He runs that for me over there. And so I know my numbers are probably off this year. I want to say we've gotten 90 jobs for ex-offenders. I'm talking about guys with serious records. This is not getting them expunged. This is not an $8 job. These jobs start at 12, 13, 14. We ain't got to the 17, 18 yet. I'm sorry. No. We're working on it. We have, where we at now? So how many jobs are we at now?
We had 94 and the highest paid is 18, the lowest is 11.
There you go. There you go. Right? And so it's bringing dignity back into the family. It's bringing pride back to the family. It makes a man feel like a man again, right? He can take care of his family, take care of his kids. And so Ray, we come over here and I talked to some of the fellas that I'm really good friends with in the streets and said, all I want up in here is the guys out there hustling. And you know when I first got there, even though my name has kind of got a little bit of reputation over here, kind of good credit, but still the police. And so when you tell all the guys in the streets that's hustling to come see Colonel, you know what's going through their mind. Come on, man, for real. That's our man, but it's a setup, man. Come on, straight out the way coming up in there. Probably got a whole bunch of warrants for us. No. So literally about 2 or 3 snuck into the room. And then I had a bunch of guys, older guys, who were just kind of, old heads. But they wanted to work. But it wasn't for them. Right, a bunch of OGs. It wasn't for them. I wanted my young bucks that was out there. Because at the end of the day, they're not trying to die. And they definitely don't want to be doing that. When we talked to them, they said, look, Colonel, we ain't trying to tear up our own streets. You think we like doing this to our living? But this is all we got. Ain't nobody giving us a chance. So I got Ray over, 2 or 3 came in. I had a room, bunch of OGs, and I'm asking OGs, why you in here? What you doing? We need a job. I said, I got that, but man, I have an urgent matter right now. And we started just being real. And I asked the 2 young guys in there, I said, let's straight up be real. They made me come in plain clothes, which was no big deal. I said, what are you doing to survive every day? And they didn't want to answer at first. And then my man with the street cred said, man, for real, Colonel's here to help us. Be real. Be transparent. If you notice, he ain't asked nobody their name, he don't want your address, but he wants to help. And then one guy started, and he started up and said, look, for real though, I'm out here pushing about 150 pills every day. I got a 3-year-old I got to feed. I got my moms that need money. I got this, I got that. I'm doing what I got to do. I said, thank you. Before we were done, the word was getting out in this Sandtown area. And that room filled up with over 40 hustlers in the street. And Ray and I made a vow that we would bring that same program that we got on in East Baltimore and bring it over here.
Yeah.
And this church that you're standing in is actually one of our partner churches because we have to need a church to be a training ground. Because you just don't give a man a job and don't train him to have the job. You got to skill him up. And before we skill him up, we strip him down. Right? You got to change this.
That's right.
You know, when the first thing Ray told me was, he said, Colonel, this is good. Well, he called me Papa. Papa, this is good. We're doing this and that. But at the end of the day, what's going to stop them from, you know, Ray, what's going to stop them from getting back in the street? I'm like, all right, so don't start preaching, man. What's up? He said, we got to get this and we got to get this. We don't change this and we don't change this. They ain't changing.
That's right.
If we get them to pay all their bills, Papa. Right? If we get, listen, they ain't never got another financial problem, Papa. What's going to really stop them from going back in the street? We got to change this. We got to change this, Papa. I'm like, all right, Ray, calm down, man, calm down. But I said, you're right, what do you propose? He said, this is where I want to roll up my sleeves. He said, let me work them out. Let me strip them down. We run a boot camp. We got about 20 guys over here right now from that day we had that meeting about a month ago. They're getting up every morning. They're running on their own. They're doing push-ups. They get over to the park, they do push-ups on their own. They got a little regiment because they know Ray Jury come to work the crap out of them. And we already told the story that we done did this on the east side, and O's a witness. These guys look like they're in shape. Look like they can go. And Ray told me this a long time ago. He said, Pop, you know why they use guns? Because they can't fight.
Right.
They got no cardio, Pop. It's easy to go in the alley, pick up a gun and shoot somebody. They don't fight like we used to when we was coming up. They ain't got that kind of stamina. I said, okay, all right, John. All right, what's up? That's why we got to train. And the first training session I went to, I wasn't getting out there with Ray because he crazy. The first training session they was out there, O went out there, he a young man, half my age. He got busted up. He went on light duty after. I said, told you don't mess with Ray. Don't mess with Ray. But these guys couldn't do 10 push-ups. They could barely run around the track half the distance around the track. Had no stamina, had no condition because their system was full of poison. They weren't trained, so forth and so on. They are so loyal to this program. They're so loyal to Ray, myself, because we've given them another life. And we're going to bring that, and we are bringing it over here. So that's coming. And so when he talks about celebrities, he's so right. We've had a lot of professional athletes come out of Baltimore, and it is tough getting them to come back. But we're not giving up. I'm still banging on it. We're not giving up. So the job piece is in place, the education, we're in the schools. I ain't got time to talk about every thing we're doing. I really want to turn this over to you guys. But can we just give them another round? Pray for Sean. Sean, you look at it?
Yeah.
Sean actually wants to be a Baltimore police officer. Oh. And Sean, his record is clean. One of the things that make me angry about my department and the system is the corruption. And a lot of guys that look like Sean, black. A lot of guys that are from where Sean's from, Baltimore, the hood, get overlooked. And we don't give you a reason why. But I know why the reason is, right? So, and I tried to bring this up with commissioners in the past, but finally I got a commissioner. I said, you need to look at this. I said, here's a good man right here. And he wants to get back in his community and help police his community. And he deserves that opportunity. And so right now, we're looking at him. I said, go find his application. Actually, I told him come back down. He's been ducking me. I don't know if he's serious or not. But
Yeah, I am.
okay. You ducking me?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. And so Sean, keep him in prayer because my prayer is that he becomes a Baltimore police officer.
Amen.
And so instead of sitting up here, He'd be sitting back there with the rest of my crew.
What's up?
Speaking of my crew, and I'm going to open up the Q&A. Speaking of my crew, what you talked about, Ray, you talked about the different policing style that needs to go. These guys get it. These are community officers, right? I went from
we see him.
huh?
I know we see him.
Okay, so I had,
Especially him right there. Off the glass.
that's a good thing, though. That's a compliment. That's a compliment. And so these officers, I've had for the last 3 years, even though I had this position for the last 3 years, I've had a staff, for a citywide staff, of about 9 people. Can't do nothing with that. And now, because this new commissioner, he believes the vision, embraces it, understands it, my staff is now well over 60.
Wow.
And that just happened last Thursday. So we're about to get busy, and all the ones you see back there that came out tonight, the vast majority of them, because they all have a pillar, and the vast majority of them are the community officers. I have one for faith-based in each district, one for, help me out, guys. Reentry. Keep going. Youth. And what's the last one? Community.
Great.
Right? So my job is to train, as a trainer, to train the trainers. And they will train, and they won't even know they're being trained, the rest of the district officers. It'll be subtle. They'll wake up one day and go, oh my God, how did I get like this? How did I become sensitive and compassionate again? How did I not like other people for petty crimes? Because we have strategies in place. So that's all I'm going to say about that at this time. Listen, there's more food, Mama? So anybody wanted to, I had to make sure they ate first. But if anybody wants another plate, and do it before my cops, they will tear it up. Please go back there, you go. Please go back and get another plate. In the meantime, I'm opening up for Q&As, guys. Just any questions? Any questions?
You talk about getting some jobs and training. Do they have in the church, just in the church, because I run a free apprenticeship program for construction in Seattle, working with the brothers, because we had to work.
We're still in session.
We had to work with legislation to get the box where you check to get the felony off.
Yeah.
We got that off. So on the application, that ain't on the application anymore.
Oh, wow.
So they don't look at felony. So we had to go to city council and the government to be able to get that box off. Then we started working with felony-friendly companies that were hired, and we had pastors to verify and support the young men that look for the job. So we had a coalition of pastors to work with the companies. And so once we knew that they had their mind right, as we say, we had them come through some pre-training, re-entry stuff, and they were ready. We vouched for them. And so we would hold the city accountable, the jobs accountable, and say, hey, now hire these guys, and we're backing them up. So is there anything in place like that here in Baltimore?
No, here we have a jobs program. Matter of fact, my wife is director of it. Not paid. She works 30, 40 hours a week, and she tries to help people with employment. We have another group that thinks about how do we develop, raise up some entrepreneurs outside of, that actually come from here, live here, and want to set up businesses here. So we're developing that. But I do want to say, we need to stop. We talk about the community, and sometimes we get our data mixed up. Again, people talk about the dope game and never been in it. If that guy is standing on that corner all day doing dope, he better not spend $9, because that's not his money. That's the dope game. If he's standing there all day, he better not spend $1. He may have $300 in his pocket, but that ain't his. I know. Bring me back some money. Bring me back $5 short. You see, so this dramatization of people staying on the corner and getting $1,000 in their pocket, that ain't true. They ain't never. If they say that, they've never been bought a dope game. Because the guy who got real $1 million in the pocket, one, he ain't standing there all day. You see. So what happens is, we're a data-driven society, but when it comes to the hood, we glamorize stuff that just ain't true. You see. So there's some other issues, and the reason that's important to know is because We will attack a problem, and that's not the problem. I got guys on this corner that stay out there all day will ask you for $20. If you just make $300, why you need $20 from me? Give me $20. Because it ain't true. And we put that stuff in the media as if it's true. And it's not. So what happens, we'll pull money out of the problem, and that's not the problem. And so I think we need to start getting clear on what our data is. And the only way to do that, here I go again, you got to be out here. Stop getting stuff through the internet, you know, or what, I'm sorry, I hope y'all ain't no politicians with it. Some of y'all probably are. Stop getting yourself from folks that don't know nothing about the hood, ain't never lived here, ain't never been part of the game, and tell you about the hood. So we waste a whole lot of money on a whole lot of stuff that doesn't get to the issues. And notice we're talking about a whole lot of stuff here. And the one thing that we have not mentioned, including myself that much, family.
I said that to say
There's a family. Yeah, I don't get the guys on the corner and the mama's inside and the son's down the street or inside. There's a family. And we got to address families here. And that includes men. And we don't talk a lot about it as if we tear families apart to reach a family. And I don't know if we help. If I help the son, I got to think about there's a daddy somewhere. If I minister to a woman and I know her man's out there somewhere, I would talk to that man. Hey, bro, just want you to know it. Talking to you later. I'm going to give him his props. I don't care if he's on the corner. We got to give folks their props. You see, because he is a man. That's not no boy. That's not no punk. That's not no statistic. That's a man. You see, and this is a kind of a matriarchal society, and everybody don't want to hear that. People say, "I want a good man." Well, I got to raise one up.
Come on, sir.
That's a man. Ain't no punk. You know. And we got to start getting real with folks. You know, I don't tell them folks whose lips all white, well, you'd be all right. You know you're a crackhead. I know you're a crackhead. You know you're a crackhead. But we can deal, homeboy. We can walk together. So, it is the job. It is the systems. It is doing these other things, but I keep driving this thing home. If you're talking about people.
I said that to say this because that's what I came out of. I was a Pyro blood for 10 years. And getting saved, I knew I had to figure out how to pay for my kids, my family. And the only way that we had back I got ran out of LA. I couldn't go back. I was going to the penitentiary. So I ended up going to Seattle.
Okay.
Going to Seattle, I had to come up with some money. And I had to have every week money. So the only every week money that we knew was in construction. So the only way I knew out of drugs and pimping and hustling was construction. And I knew how to do math because I always counted up dope money and keys. And so with that, that's what got me out of it because I had to figure a way. That's why I have a nonprofit now that helps brothers get out of it. Out of the game that pays enough money for them to come out of the game because in Seattle, you start off at $20, $25 an hour going into apprenticeship. So if I can get the brothers out, even coming out of Baltimore, if they want to come from Baltimore to Seattle just to get out. It's something that we can do and then come back, build up Baltimore. You know, I see a lot of burned down buildings. Let's start a construction company within the community and build up the buildings in here. Let's try to put some revenue in it. That's what I'm looking at. So that's what I'm seeing now. There's things.
If you have grant programs in the city, 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't see as much violence in the city going on. Because Baltimore is a beautiful city. Everybody comes from.
What's going on? You asked the question. about what are we doing to try to alleviate some of the situations that exist in terms of job opportunities. The state's attorney for Baltimore City has come up with an expungement program, but the population that she is reaching is very small and is very young. But that's not the answer. That's only one of the answers, okay? There's been a systemic attack on the family structure, on the black family structure for years. The eradication of the father as head of household has caused more destruction in the family than anything else economically that could have been done to that family. The removal of the man as head of household. Because that man out as being head of household, you now have teens that are growing up who didn't have a father to steer them down the path of rightness, okay? And without that father influence, they get it from the streets nowadays. And that's leading them to being the people that they are today, all right? So, white America, excuse me for saying that, that was part of the solution to the breakdown of the black American. The removal of that man as head of household of that family and start lifting up the woman and letting her run things. And from my perspective, it's hard for a woman to teach a young boy how to be a man. Okay? Don't forget that we have an obligation to our community, all right, to uplift that family, to be there for that family, find the answers for that family, especially with the man missing out of the household. And we have been negligent in what we're supposed to be doing as men of Christ. So we have to get back on the right path, okay? And taking up that mantle that Christ left us with, and carry it. And carry it to every household in our communities, carry it to every household in the cities that we live in, to uplift our young men, to uplift the men who don't have employment. Because they feel just as lost and hopeless as the young people. Because they can't afford to take groceries home to their families. How do you think that makes them feel? So they have to do another side, they have to do another hustle. And that hustle may not be a righteous hustle. And they may end up being in jail. So when we look at the population, let's just not gear the solution to just our young people. We got to gear the solution to every person that represents our community who needs our help.
That's good. Thank you, Elder. I need to go here, and I think you have a question? And then there, and then... Okay, so this is going to be the last question. So we look here, and then Dr. Lee can be the last question. All right, go.
All right, so Gerald Young from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have a situation right now in Minneapolis where a young man was handcuffed behind his back, was shot in the head by the police. And so right now, as I speak, as I was checking Facebook, it's like almost a riot going on right down the street from my house. So keep Minneapolis in prayer if you can. So my question is to Sean, right?
Yeah.
Man, I like your spirit, man. You got a great spirit, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
What would you want to see this community be in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would definitely like to have like some sort of bloodline coming out of this community. Like I said, I think most people would agree that Sandtown nowadays is more made up of, you know, the millennials, like people in my age group. So I would just like to see a transformation of like how we identify ourselves. Like that being cool to hustle and be fly moving, that gotta be gone. That gotta be gone. Like, I wanna see like men now. Like your age don't make you a man. So because most of us got children, most of us got families that, you know, that's our responsibility. Like I would like to see us like really that this community as a whole, as far as the men, like be men. Like be men, not the type of man that's characterized by hip hop or TV or fashion. really being men, like working a 9 to 5. You know, you don't have to be a Christian, even though I would steer most people toward the direction of Christ. But, you know, be a spiritual man. Like, have some type of spirituality about you, because at the end of the day, like, that's really that's where your moral compass is going to come from, your spirituality. Because laws of man are always going to steer you in every which direction. When you're a spiritual man, you tend to be more solid in your choosing as far as your behavior and your integrity.
See, one thing I would like to respond to that too.
No. Just playing over there.
One thing we must realize is that we must be realistic with our outcomes, okay? You can't just look at it as black and white and expect to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. In business, you would fail every time because you have to have your short-term goal, okay, which is a 5-year plan, but that's taking you to your 20-year goal plan, all right, of success, all right? And if we don't start building steps toward that 20-year plan, that 5-year little tidbit we're talking about is not going to produce nothing, and we will be in the same place we are today. So what I would like to see happen here today, and a continued dialogue toward building a fundamental, solid plan of growth and achievement 20 years down the road, okay? But implementing steps now to get us there. That's a realistic goal. That's a realistic plan.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and piggyback off of what Elder just said. Like I said, I'm the type of person where it's as though like I have no problem being an example. I have no problem like being on the front lines. And so, you know, if I manage to be a guy who can stay off the corners and stay out the jails and who can be a working man and be productive like citizen in society and be respected, then like I can use myself as the example, because at the end of the day, all these guys out here just looking for something tangible. They're looking for something that's believable and that's doable. Because these guys been promised like XYZ for so many years. Like you can no longer come to the average guy in Baltimore with a story or aspiration or a promise. Like they want to see something that's doable, that's workable. So if that requires me to go out there on the front lines and say, look, this is the route I took, this is how I did it, try to do things my way. Then slowly but surely, if I reach one person, I can reach 2 people. If I can reach 2 people, I can reach 4 people. So, like he said, we do need something that's practical. And so, we just need more people willing to be that practical example.
That's good.
Amen.
Next question.
I want to say chief because that's where we are back east.
I'm a chief, so it's good.
My question is, what do you plan to do to bring the community in to help you community police? And what's your fourth plan goal to get the commissioner or the chief to buy into this plan? As an example, in Oakland, we meet with Sister Chief, community leaders, we meet Sister Chief, we plan our ceasefire, we plan that. And then we went and wrote a training that's now used throughout California, using community-based people with them, called Procedural Justice Police Agency out of Chicago. We took it, but we were the first one to put the civilian part to it, where we actually teach OPD, and we had nothing to do with it. We never went through nothing. We come in there and we teach them some parts of their own training. What do you plan to do to bring healing to the community as officers? Because you're still, all that went through, you're still going to need the healing piece between the officers and the community, such as in South Africa and those places there.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So probably the easiest way to answer is just to tell you to go to YouTube. I just did a TEDx talk. So if you go to TEDx, YouTube, put my name in, Melvin Russell, the answer's right there. But let me just say this. You asked, well, part of your question was, how do I get buy-in from the commissioner? We have a commissioner, right? And he has several chiefs on. I'm one of the chiefs. That's been part of the problem. I have not been able to get buy-in from a commissioner.
Amen.
But now, with this commissioner, I got buy-in. I wouldn't have them if I didn't get buy-in. He believes in community policing. He believes in the vision. He knows the vision. He knows what I've been trying to do for the last 3 years. So now that he has the helm, he says, Melvin, go do what you should have been doing or allowed to do over the last 3 years. So there's many facets to it. One of it is building out community teams throughout Baltimore. Like this, Sandtown-Winchester will be a community collaboration team. See, the community, it's my job to teach my officers to pull the community together. Anything in Sandtown that makes up the community should be part of that team. It's all volunteer. That means the pastors. That means the young men on the streets. I'm not worried about where they're from. Not so much what I mean is their pedigree. Right? The businesses need to be involved. The educational system. There's no hospital here, but if there's a hospital, everything that makes up that community, you need to be part of that community table. And as police officers, we teach the police officers, you're no longer an occupier of that community, you're a partner. Right? And so you're sliding a table up to, this is Sandtown-Winchester. So now slide your chair up to the community table. We're going to get invited in. We've been invited in. And then we bring on here's what I do at my level. The community tells us what their issues and concerns are, like you've heard today, right? From that piece, then, not so much the police, but we working in partnership with them, they will tell us what's the best strategies to bring or to heal the community and push it forward. What do you need, blah, blah, blah. And then our job is to bring the resources if it's applicable or even doable. If it's not, like if they say, well, and I'm being real facetious now, what's going to help our community is no more drug enforcement and let us start selling kilos on the corner like it's nobody business, right? I'm being real facetious, but then it's my job to say, this is why that's not going to work, right? But everything else is tangible. It is my job, my officer's job, to help manifest what they're saying is going to work for their community. And the last piece of that community team is, it can't be just a police thing. They got to take responsibility, right? Okay, now we're giving you the resources. We give you exactly what you want. Now you got to help walk it out. Whatever you said we were going to come up with, I'm going to bring all the resources to the table. City government, private sector, philanthropists, whatever it is, I'm going to do my best to bring the resources to the table. That's why Dr. Lee's one of my great friends, right? And at the end of the day, you got to walk it out, though. Now we're going to be with you, but you got to walk it out. This is your community. Okay? So that's everything from reentry work. We're going to help these guys and gals stop going in and out of jail, in and out of jail. Right? We're going to help our young people in the education system. We're going to get in your school system and bring back officer-friendly programs, if that's what you want in your community. Officer-friendly and explorers programs, so we as police officers come in and mentor, you see a different side. You want better police officers? We're going to make them come into the school system now because they've been MIA forever. And so the kids can know the officers in a school system, at the setting, and then go back to the hood and say, man, that's Officer Otis. He was just at my school. He cool. Right? And so now all the police officers, they're getting transformed. Their mindsets are getting transformed. And for the real hard-headed ones, we put clergy. We talked about the chaplaincy program. We put clergies in the car. Because we got, not only the community has to change the culture and the way of thinking, but God knows police officer too. We in law enforcement, we got to change. We're some of the most proud, stubborn. We look in the mirror, we see what's wrong. I heard a question earlier in one of the sessions. What's it going to take for law enforcement to admit it's wrong? That's one of the hardest things to do. Look at the man in the mirror, to know that you're part of the problem. Just to get us to recognize it's number one, that's hard. But then get us to change it, do something about it. My God. So that's what we're up against when it comes to law enforcement. So we've got a lot of initiatives and things in place. But again, just got them Thursday. We're about to get busy. Come back next year, you're going to see a different Baltimore. Okay? All right.
And on the other side to that,
Why the elder got to go behind everybody, man? I'm trying to go home and go to bed.
the other part to that equation is what we have to do as a faith community is we have to back them. The pastors, the leaders of the churches, we need to really start coming together as one, representing one community, all right, and back them with our membership. So that way, they're not alone in this war. They're not alone in this revitalization. And that's what we did. I want to thank Officer LaPrade, who's been to several of the events that we have given in bringing the pastors of this community and also of other communities together, so that way we become a force. We become a force of not only economic change, but also political change. And that's important.
Y'all ain't going to keep me here, so I'm going to tell you.
what we don't need is faddish things. You understand? You know when things become like it's the end thing now to be here, and that's real cool. You know, you can chalk that up, but at the same time.
We ain't doing that. We're not doing that.
But no, well, what I'm saying is there's reality here. About May, I had 10 people in the congregation literally read 176 names of people who had been killed in Sandtown. I had 10 people read it, and I flashed it across on the overhead. And naturally, by Freddie Gray's murder, it was heinous Baltimore murder. The youngest of these murderers was 2. The oldest was 63, and the mean was 23. And so when I asked the congregation after reading, I said, I'm quite sure y'all saw the thing with heinous Baltimore murder. I said, tell me which one of these were regular murders. That's reality. We don't need fads. You know, this is the hype, this is what the media is on. That's 175 regular murders that nobody knows their name. They don't know when they died. They don't know how they died, but I guarantee you their mama do, and their brother do, and their sister do, and their cousin do, but they don't get on the news, and we get the news around Freddie Gray, and there's 175 people that nobody even cares.
See his passion? See his passion? So I'm jumping in here, Doc. And this speaks to back what Elder was talking about, so prophetically, talking about the hurt, because it's still deep here, y'all. And so if you don't do anything else when you leave from here, if you never lift up a finger, the one thing I'm asking you to do is you pray for us. You pray for this community. We're coming out of this. We are going to rise out of here. And some of you have heard me say this before. There's no way in the world. There's no way in the world we're going to allow an uprising, a crisis in Baltimore City to define us. Right? So we're coming out of this, and we're going to birth something great out of this. And the birthing where we're going to be pushing this out of, primarily, is right here in Sandtown-Winchester. So keep us in prayer. We will not waste. We will not waste this crisis. But let's get through these questions.
Y'all are in historic.
See, that's why I keep these preachers, man.
This is historic Baltimore Western Police Boys Club. You're sitting there.
Yeah, it is.
I was 5 years old attending this place here. Know every officer by name. Officer Gilbert, Officer Brown. All of those officers were here training us. Now that's when the police department was segregated. All the black officers were here training us. We had boxing here, we carpentry, we watched television upstairs. We were a part of 283.
They had no TV.
I know, thank you.
Shut up, man. Anyway. You know when we were leaving the beat. No way. He said when he was 5 years old, he had no TV. Listen, we got to move on. Come on, man. We got to move on. We got to move on. And we're going to stick to the answer to the question because our brother going to bed. All right. So I think we're going here next. Yep. Going back here, and then Dr. Pastor Sanders, and then Dr. Lee can wrap it up. I'm jumping all over the map.
No, I'll tell you, his story.
Go ahead, Bishop.
My question is,
Let's do the question.
This question is very simple. I'm kind of a how-to person. This question is directed to the young man wearing the hat. You said something very interesting while you were speaking. You started talking about this challenge that's being faced when it comes down to making that change. That everyday decision that says, hey, there's two paths before me. There's path right, there's path wrong. I want to know what kinds of things can we do at whether you call it church level, community level, or whatnot, to really help during that process, because change is a process. We know it doesn't happen overnight. But what kinds of things, when you look back over your life, you're making that decision, which, by the way, is very proud of you. Every day getting up, taking it to the hole, where you're like, hey, I could go over here and do this, but instead I'm doing this. what kinds of things can we do to kind of support as a person is going through, as a young person like yourself or anybody going through that kind of challenge on a daily basis?
Only did answer this question.
I can't speak for the next person. I can only speak for myself. Well, how you said what changed my focus from going left to right, bad or good, will be what I see that's going on around me and the experiences that I've been through. I've been incarcerated. I'm on 24. I just did 4.5 years out of my child life. He's 8 years old. I had him when I was 15. I don't want to see myself repeating the same cycle that my father did, my uncle did, my grandfather, whoever the case may be. I don't want to say it, and I know he wouldn't want to say it, and I wouldn't want him to say it. So, like how you were saying, I don't particularly know how I can change, but I just know I could try to help and change with me being young and reaching out to the other young people to try to help. Other than that.
Now, on that.
I'm just kidding. Pastor Sanders, what before we start talking, man? Come on, that's your question.
I have two statements to make, and that is not, it's not even, and Pastor, what's Pastor? Is this senior
Wilson,
pastor?
Dr. Wilson.
Dr. Wilson is a senior pastor?
Yes.
Is a senior pastor here.
Yes.
What's the name of the church again? New Song or Song?
New Song.
New Song.
New song.
New Song. Do you have a card?
Elder Harris, I just sent you.
Yeah, tell me, give me a card. My young man, my Muslim brother, I want to encourage you to write the new narrative of this community. You're extremely articulate. It don't take money. I do so much with my cell phone. Tell your story. Grab some other people to tell your story with yourself. Whatever you want to do, but you are an amazing conduit of conversation that can change the narrative. Forget title. Forget the. That's how these stories get born. I was talking to the police officer that was on the program today. He said that the whole Antoine Fisher story came up out of just a fluke. So you really do have a great gift of clearly, concisely communicating the narrative. So and by this time next year, I want to see your name attached to something that's changing this narrative. Okay? And then Pastor, I'm in California in Long Beach.
Long Beach.
But I don't want anybody on this panel to think that it's you're the only ones going through you might be at a different level. Because we know, like we say in church, every level new devils. So you're at a different level, but we are all dealing with the same anxiety and trauma in our communities as well. So I want to encourage every one of you. But Pastor, I want to let you know that I personally want to make a commitment to you that for the next 12 months out of my pocket, I just want to send you $100 for the work. Now maybe that might be some copy work. It's not a lot. We're not a big church.
Give this man another plate.
No, but that's not the end of my challenge. For every pastor in here, maybe you have $5 or $10. Don't worry about the size of the church. Let's sow a seed in the work. In the work, not the building fund, not the lights.
That's right.
The work. Because it's a lot of work to be done in this community.
You say you in Long Beach, where?
I'm in Long Beach. I'm in California.
You're right about that. It's happening everywhere. And that's
Everywhere.
on the piggyback.
For all of you guys that's old enough to remember the world of the ghetto. Remember that song?
To get to every police department around the world. It's not just happening in Baltimore.
That's my job.
Right.
Like, it's like the little girl that just got shot out, what was that, Wisconsin or something? By the police department. Because of due to a wrongful, mistaken identity or whatever the situation was. An innocent girl lost her life to the police department. These police need to stop just grabbing the joint. Period. Like, it's happening everywhere. And that's what sit at the top of the problem. Law enforcement, and then it's the community.
All right, you're trying to be like Elvis. Stop.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. So I think we got Dr. Lee. Man, why is you throwing your name out? Dr. Lee. All right, you it, man, for real. Don't nobody put their hand in. Oh Lord Jesus.
So let me give him back my time because
Then you last.
All right.
All right, you last.
Mine is very clear.
Go ahead. Bring it.
So I'm going to introduce, this is Tim Wilson. He was born the same day as Freddie Gray. Grew up 5 houses from Freddie Gray. He's Freddie Gray's cousin. And he's another example of positive stuff. You know, and there's also missteps. But some young man who's really working to has changed his life. He's working for his children
Okay.
and for his community. And
Okay.
so when this was coming on, I asked whether he'd want to come over here.
Thank you, okay. I appreciate that.
All right, so my
I'm
question,
gonna let you go ahead and talk now, Tim.
my question is, y'all say start with the community and also start with the police and everything. I listen to what everybody's saying, but what about these community leaders that's agitators as well? Because I remember the day before Freddie Gray passed away, right? We all gathered to march and give him our homes. And as we walking down, we got our spiritual leader, Jamal Bryant, hands up, don't shoot, you know, and rallying these kids up and getting them pissed off more and more. Had I not marched with them and went down to Western District, most of them kids would have got shot. Because I was the one who stood up in front of them between the police department and between them kids and made them back up.
And so one of the things
He said to me,
yeah,
get your people. But you was the one who rallied them up to get them down.
yeah, Jamal.
So what is being done with these community leaders that's agitated?
So that's outstanding. That's a great, and we actually touched into that, but we didn't go into it before you got here. We talked about how everything that happened, it wasn't the perpetrators didn't come out of this community, right? And we even talked about how we have pastors. I didn't call any names.
I'm not.
Put them up there. Anyway, listen. All I'm saying is, but I got you. I'm not no huge fan. But the way I put it is that we got some people that came in who just wanted that national attention and had a voice, act like they were speaking for the community, wasn't from the community, didn't know anybody in the community. They were more agitators than anything. So I know exactly what you're doing. So the answer is, so now what I've talked to the commission about is, we've tagged certain people like Shabazz that came in, right? They're just agitators. So I've tagged certain people. And then I'm working with community members, leadership, to let them know when these cats come back, we're going to pounce them. We're going to pounce them. They will not.
But the question is, it's not even just the ones that's not from here. I'm talking about the ones that's here. The ones that y'all invite on the panels that still talk.
No, so we talked about that. We even talked about how there were individuals who weren't really connected to the community. Might have been from Baltimore. There was a few I saw from here, but ain't really engaged.
Was running behind.
I got you. Every day, and then I'm going to get off of this, Timmy, because you and I are definitely going to talk. I'm going to give you my permission. Every day, I used to beg the former commissioner and beg the mayor, you are inciting our city every time you go and do a press conference every 2 hours. Because every time you do a press conference, you got people behind you that are not affected, not really. They're not from that community. And I really got angry with one of the last press conferences when the former said, the community that's out there that's doing all this, they're nothing but thugs. The community that's out here, right. He said, the community that I love, they right here. Right? And so that sent a strong signal. My phone got blown up from community members in here that I'm working with, like, this is exactly what we're talking about, Colonel. He just dogs us in distance like that. We ain't even there. When can we? And I begged them, gave them names of people at grassroots. One of them, your cousin, gave them names, said, listen, let these guys come in and stand with you when you do these press conferences, because this will help heal. But right now, you're much a perpetrator, and I was literally talking to them like this in Texas and calling them, as these agitators that came in from other communities and other cities. Because you are allowing the voice of Sandtown-Winchester to be drowned out by people that don't look like them, nor from their community. They ain't connected to Freddie Gray, and until you get some people on there, and they fell on deaf ears. Now one time they finally said, give me some names. They gave it to them, they never brought them on. So I hear you. Go ahead, Doug.
The second half, and so there's a lot of things that got raised for Freddie Gray. The Friday before, they didn't have enough money for the funeral. I personally.
That's correct.
But so we wouldn't be here today if there hadn't been the uprising. Not, that I'm not sure even the meeting would have been in Baltimore if there hadn't been the uprising. But there was money that came in from CDC. The group that got that for the Safe Street program is not a group from Sandtown-Winchester.
That's right.
It was $5 million that came in for employment for the kind of programs that you just got talked about. I'm willing to bet that none of you guys heard. And I suspect the same thing is happening in your community. I mean, the people who get the money, and at my university, I work for a place that is good at getting money. So I think part of the challenge is how do you get the funds to go to the place we're not as a charity, but there are, as you all said, there are places, people in Sandtown, there are programs in Sandtown, we heard of some today, that are doing exactly what the fund did before, but the mechanisms don't get it there. And I raise this, it's probably true in your communities, if the faith communities, because the political people give them, I mean, they're the people who created this system.
That's right.
So it's not going to change who's getting the money. It strikes me that it's the faith communities who need to, hold people accountable because, that's $5 million that came in. That was a one-shot thing. We're going to get more money for employment. We got more money for schools. Is the money going to Gilmore School?
Nope.
Which is the school right, right over there.
Nope.
They do not have books in their library.
So Tim,
I'm just saying,
go ahead, Doc.
we need to make, again, this is sort of where coalitions of people that at least know when the money's, which is why I talked to the colonel about this stuff, and when the money's coming in, I don't know the content stuff. That's not what, I don't know where it should go in the community.
Right.
But I know when it's coming in, and I need to know, help the people who are in the community get access to those resources. Otherwise, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, and Baltimore's got millions of dollars. It got hundreds of millions of dollars
That's what I was
for
gonna
all sort of development stuff. And you look at, and Sandtown is not the only community that money went into, and there's not much positive things there. So doing things new, and again, not reinventing, not doing the same thing again, but building on the strengths of the communities. We need to make sure when these resources come in, that those people in the community who know what needs to get done have access to the people, get those funds, because otherwise we may be here next year, and we'll hear about all the money went in, and the colonel will have gotten, and Lewis will have gotten some funds in there that they raised themselves, but the money that's coming in from outside, the governmental money, the foundational money, will have gone elsewhere.
Well, that's absolutely true. Organizations that just pop up. You know when stuff happens, people just pop up, make a quick 501c. A lot of that money goes to organizations that are the usual suspects. Can I put it that way?
Yeah.
And so everybody knows them. They are the people that everybody knows, but nobody really knows what they're doing. And it's certainly not impacting communities or the right communities. So that money goes to them because we are familiar with this organization. Break you up. We're familiar with this organization, break you up, but it never gets or funnels down to the right place. And listen, at the end of the day, there's probably corruption in every system, right? I told y'all before, 36 years in, I don't care. There is corruption in every system. So there's a lot of back scratching coming. Come on, guys. Yes. So I need to break you off, you my boy. There's political ties to it. It's all kind of mess, but that's at a higher level than I am. And that's why I pray to a God who's got all power.
Amen.
Right? And so that needs to be part of your prayer, that we break up this fallow ground, not just in this city, but all across this nation.
Right.
Because programs like this, they're talking about the deployment and stuff like that, we can rid this stuff. We can rid this stuff in just a matter of a few months, because the resources are there. But the allocation, there's a lot of thievery going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money going places that's not going to the right places. And men and women are getting richer and richer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, Baltimore is a city of haves and have-nots. And I am not so sure that the haves want it any other way.
That's right.
They want to make sure there is that great divide.
That's right.
We're going to keep it. And the sad thing is, a lot of the haves look just like me.
Yeah. That's right.
But they get mad, so they don't care about the Sandtown-Winchester of the world. Go, you want to say something about it?
If what you're saying is true, that's been said before, and when things like these arise, we know how foundations are. They're very data-driven, and they're capacity-driven. So the question is, do you have the data, and do you have the capacity? And many emerging organizations don't have the data, and they don't have the capacity. So you'll get a politician come in and say, well, there's a lot of money coming in. They already know you won't get a token of that money because you don't have capacity. And so what I'm suggesting to people like John Hopkins, we need you to put a boot on the ground that's going to help us with capacity in terms of how to structure things, how to write grants. Tell me, oh, there's a bunch of money over here. But if I've never written a grant, that don't mean nothing.
That's right.
It means absolutely nothing. Or, because it's Sandtown, you might give me a token. Well, okay, we'll take a grant, even though he didn't dot the I's and cross the T's, and we'll give him $10,000. Yeah, but that came out out of a $50 million bucket. That was gathered for Sandtown. That Sandtown ever saw as Lieutenant
Russell said. So what I'm saying to people like Hopkins, University of Maryland, or whoever else, if you are not willing to back up by putting some boots on the ground to help us strategize and organize, write the grant, and we all know, build the relationships, I don't care what kind of program I got. I can dot every I and cross every T, have the best thing in Sandtown. And so I go in, and then Ray Lewis come in. I'm not gonna walk out the door. He ain't rolled up nothing, he's just Ray Lewis. I'm not trying to be facetious, but that's reality.
That's why I came here. I mean,
So we do need,
a relationship.
we need those celebrities who will put a boot on the ground here and say, I'm committed to here. Right. And the experts, I'm committed to here. And make that.
That's great.
These things happen.
I gotta get to the last question. Y'all, I'm supposed to be asleep at 8 o'clock. So last question.
I just wanted to say, Dr. Washington from Pennsylvania, I'm grateful for the pastor's wisdom when he spoke to the young man, and you certainly are articulate. Get that book out, and I'm offering my help. I'm a 5-time published author and a personal editor.
Look at God.
If you're really serious, let's get that book out.
Maybe a couple of the pastors that can sit